What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the studio, and today I'm going to be talking about Riverdale Season 6, Episode 7, titled Chapter 102, Death at a Funeral. I'm going to be giving my thoughts on it. It aired last night, 2 nights ago for you guys, but let's go ahead and jump into it. This episode, I'm interested, and I thought there were some really good moments with Veronica's storyline. I'll talk about that later on. I'll talk about that at the end. Joe Kitts was good too. I am interested in what's going on with Cheryl and Abigail and Tony and where that leads to. I'm still kind of iffy on the superpowers. I'm still trying to decide because we'll go ahead and start with the superpowers. So here's the downside of their powers. We find out that Betty is having migraines. Is she pregnant? I don't know if that's leading to something or if it's just a superpower side effect. I don't know. Archie also realizes that his kryptonite, which his weakness, is palladium, while Betty's weakness is the trash bag killer, who's back in town and sending her pieces of Glenn, who he murdered at the end of last episode. So their powers are starting to fade. Here's the problem with the storyline is that the actors don't really know how to it's fine when they're doing the powers, like those action sequences are good. It just when they're like in a conversation talking about their powers, I don't know. That's the problem with here is that how do you write just a simple conversation between two characters when you're literally talking about superpowers and how like how exaggerated they are. Like it's hard to. I get that. It doesn't really. I don't really get that vibe here. It's a little bit weak writing in some of these scenes. However, the trash bag killer is interesting. She does realize. So the TBK does come back, and he handcuffs her to the couch in her FBI office, and she can't see the aura, which she finds out that TBK is her weakness. But luckily, he does let Betty go, but pretty much just to say, I killed Glenn. And then TBK comes after Archie too. This construction guy named Dennis hits Archie on the head, ties him up in his room, in his attic. This was actually a pretty funny scene because Alice comes by with the dog and she says something like, "The dog ruined my kitten heels" or something. I don't know. I wish Alice was given more to do, but that was a funny moment. So pretty much TBK is about to like slit Archie's throat when the dog runs upstairs after Alice let him loose, and he throws TBK out of the window. So yeah, that was a good moment. We have a super dog here in Riverdale. So I guess that's another thing. So he has accelerated healing and he can throw people out windows. I mean, I guess it was like a funny, dramatic moment meant for you to just like laugh at and kind of cringe at. But good for the dog. Good that Archie got saved by his dog. So I guess TBK is Dennis. Not gonna lie, no, it can't be. Remember the black hood and it was Mr. Spinson, was it? Something like that. The janitor, and he was revealed, but then it all circled back later that it was Hal. So I feel like they might be doing the same thing here because there's no way we don't know this Dennis guy at all, except that he's in the construction crew. But I guess it kind of makes sense because he was like spying on Archie and Betty's conversations, TBK was, but still, that just doesn't make any sense. I really hope they elaborate on this later on. Probably this is kind of the end of the TBK story for now, and then we're gonna get back into it later on in the season, kind of like how they did in season 2 with the Black Hood. So then we get a Betty and Archie conversation, and Betty says that she's leaving town, so TBK will follow her, and she'll find something to distract TBK with, so he won't come back to Riverdale anymore. She hopes not. not gonna lie, it doesn't sound like the best plan. I would hope Betty would be smarter than that, but, you know, I understand that she's under a lot of stress. Like, TBK literally came after her boyfriend and came out, and she saw him earlier today. So she wants to get rid of the situation. She wants to protect Archie. She wants to protect herself, even, from this monster. And I'm not gonna lie, when she looked in the trash cans and she could just see Glenn's body parts, TBK just has a gruesome way of killing people. It just sounds awful. It's so sad. Like, even though Glenn was an awful person, you can't, like, if he had to suffer and get his body parts torn off, then you can't help but feel bad for him. Obviously, they don't really focus on that, but, and then, one thing I saw on Twitter is that apparently the Betty and Archie kiss was cut short at the end. Not that I really care about that, but there was a lot of people were very upset about that. But honestly, I am happy to see Betty and Archie, you know. I didn't ship them at first. I mean, I do like them together now. I do like the other relationships better, like Veronica and Reggie and Jughead and Tabitha, but maybe I wanted Betty and Archie to have a different storyline than superpowers because they're finally getting together, but we'll see. Let's talk about Jughead. So he's still dealing with his new reality. He can't get an implant for 6 months, which means there's like hearing aid, which means there's really no way he can hear. So he decides to try to learn American Sign Language. That doesn't really help him that much. So instead he just goes around on motorcycle rides and gets himself injured. Kind of turning into an Archie, not gonna lie, it is funny. So we find out that this Daniel guy, who's the American Sign Language teacher at Riverdale High, he lost his hearing in his 20s, and he wrote a graphic novel about his experience. So Jughead's pretty fascinated by the idea. He sits down and writes a graphic novel of his own, and then the end is Jughead being able to hear Tabitha's thoughts. So that's his superpower. You know, it doesn't surprise me that he would get a power, but you know what? Good for him. It is pretty funny. I am interested to see what's gonna happen with that. I really like Jughead's like voiceover though in his scenes. I mean, obviously, like he can't hear, like Tabitha. But yeah, I do think Jughead's story is really emotional, and I think it's going to be really, something beautiful is going to come out about it at the end. But for right now, he has a power, so we'll just have to deal with it. At least this power kind of makes more sense than Betty and Archie's powers, just saying. So let's move on to the whole Cheryl storyline, and this one I'm actually pretty interested in for several reasons. So, as we remember from last episode, Nana Rose relocated Abigail into Cheryl's body, which means Cheryl is no more, at least for right now. So Abigail, one of her plans is to take over the town of Riverdale, and Nana Rose is gonna help. They go to the council meeting to kind of like announce their plans, and then Abigail sees Tony, who reminds her of Thomasina. Which that was interesting. I know Shoney shippers were freaking out online about that. I mean, I can't blame them. I mean, you know, we are getting some Cheryl and Tony like hints. And I think that's really good. For if they are going to get back together in the show, which I assume they will, that we can really kind of start like a slow burn. I think this is a good place to start. I'm hoping Abigail will turn out to be a good person, kind of like reunite the two. So. And then she kind of keeps going to her. Abigail keeps going to Tony, like flirting with her. Tony's still under the impression that this is Cheryl, obviously. I mean, it pretty much looks like Cheryl. But when Abigail, like, drinks beer, a good moment is, like, when Tony's like, that's not the Cheryl I know. So it's not going to be long before everyone finds out this is not, like, this is not the Cheryl we know. She's different. Because really she didn't interact with many people this episode. And then Nana Rose calls Tony serpent trash, and Abigail locks Nana Rose into like a room, and that was pretty funny. You know, you gotta be, Nana Rose is officially evil. It is funny. I kind of went back and forth throughout the show, is she a villain or not, but it turns out that she is. So, yeah. But Abigail is superior to her, obviously. And then we see that Abigail finds out that Tony is dating Fangs, whose ancestor killed Thomasina. Right? Yeah, that's what happened in Riverdale. I guess it's official that those things that happen at Riverdale are in Riverdale, so it's like confirmed history. So I guess that's a good thing. Um, so Abigail is going to get Tony back. That's her mission. She's going to get Tony for herself because it reminds her of Thomasina. So I do think what's going to happen is that she's going to get Tony and Fangs to break up, and then it'll all go back, and Cheryl and Tony, I think it's going to be a whole season long. Cheryl and Tony will get back together by the end of the season. And it has been renewed for a season 7, the show has. So maybe there'll be time for them to have one last chance as a couple together and finally get a second shot after what happened in the previous seasons. Make their relationship better. Don't make Tony Cheryl's shadow. And then we see that the soul of Cheryl is trying to break through the Abigail's mirror, but Abigail shatters it, and then Britta was watching and she's scared. So yeah, pretty intense, I gotta say, but we're just gonna have to wait and see what will Britta do about all of this, because now Cheryl's gone and it's Abigail. So let's talk about Veronica, shall we? So she tells Reggie about that she was involved and she put the bounty on. He is upset that she lied to him. She says she didn't want to be judged. Reggie has a great line. Should I say, "I'm sorry for your loss" or "Congratulations"? That's so Reggie. I liked Reggie this episode. There was a lot of good Reggie moments, and him saying how Veronica's eulogy speech really resonated with him. Why should I judge you if I don't know it? If I don't know what you had with your father, and it was something special. So yeah, that was a good moment for Reggie's character too. I'm hoping we get more of him. So Hermione is back in town, and she has her entire camera crew for the trip, and her grandma Abuelita is also back in town, who Veronica does not want her to find out that she was involved of killing her Abuelita's son Hiram, because that's I guess a pretty big bond, so she doesn't want her to figure out. So yeah, Veronica is like, "Mom, can I speak to you in private?" And we find out, I don't know, this was kind of a weird moment. I mean, it was good acting. The acting did a great job. The writing's a little bit weird. Hermione says that she was always jealous that Veronica seemed to love her dad more than her mom, and that Hiram loved his daughter more than Hermione. So pretty much, did she want an apology from Veronica? I guess that's what she was trying to say, because Veronica felt the need to apologize and said, "I wasn't a good daughter to you." But I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, I understand Hermione was always kind of like the third wheel. I mean, you get what I'm saying. It's just an analogy. But yeah, I didn't like how Veronica had to be the one to apologize. I mean, Hermione did messed up stuff too. It's not like she's innocent in all of this. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, Veronica's not a good daughter to Hiram, considering she literally murdered him. So she was definitely a way better daughter to Hermione, if that's where we're going. But Veronica does confess, and Hermione's like, "I always wondered, was Veronica the one who was behind this?" And I'm like, why is that the first thing you thought of, Hermione? I don't know. I didn't really like her this episode. I wanted more from her. I mean, sure, the actress did a great job of coming back and fulfilling the role. I don't know. It was just kind of weird to me. So then Hermosa tries to put a hit on Veronica because the Anatole guy who killed Hiram literally comes back, tries to kill her. The Hernaldo, something like that, who's Abuelita's godson, a good friend of the family, shoots Anatol and kills him before Veronica gets shot. So, Veronica has an interesting scene with this guy who kind of knows everything but doesn't tell Abuelita anything, and just kind of sits back and like listens to everything, but he doesn't fess up. And he says, I don't have the exact line here, but he says, I don't see the world in black and white. Everyone's more than one thing. That was, I don't know, that was good writing too. I think that is important, that how hard it is obviously for him to keep these secrets and just like watch on and like see what happens and not tell her, Abuelita. But yeah, I think that's actually a message that a lot of people can take from it. So let's, I have a few lines to read from Veronica, and then I'm probably gonna get off here. But yeah, let's read it. Okay, so here's her speech at Hiram's eulogy. She says, "Thank you all for being here. I won't stand here and wax sentimental about my father. He did horrible, unspeakable things to my mother, to my sister, to my lover at the time, Archie Andrews, to my friends, to this town, and to me. But I'm also making room for the fact that on occasion he did a few not so horrible things. He was a proud state champion wrestler for Riverdale High. He donated money to the research of rare diseases. He covered the funeral expense of Fred Andrews, with whom he did not see eye to eye without hesitation. And he was a dutiful son to my Abuelita. The truth is, I loved him till the end. Make no mistake, I wish my father hadn't done these awful things. And I wish I could sort my feelings more cleanly. But I can't. And maybe there's something to be said about a child's willingness to forgive their fathers for the terrible things that they might have done. But for what Hiram Lodge did to all of you, I apologize, and I also apologize for the fact that I will always love my dad. I'm not gonna say the whole thing. I wish I didn't, but I do. Thank you." Not gonna lie, that was probably Veronica's best moment, maybe of the whole show. The actress did a great job of saying that while he did do a lot of other things, I still love him. We really kind of got Veronica's perspective of her dad here and what he's done. And then the next scene is Hiram's perspective on his relationship with his daughter. But yeah, I did really like that scene. The fact that Reggie was crying, that was, and yeah, great moment for Veronica. Camila Mendes, this was her episode. Like everything else, we have superpowers going on, we have possessing souls going on, but Veronica really sold the whole episode for me. Like, I don't know, it was really good, not gonna lie. And I know that's kind of, I've never really resonated with Veronica's story before, but yeah. So let's go ahead and I'm gonna read her second of Hiram's last words to her. "Miha, I don't have much time left, but I need you to know one thing. Whatever I may have said about wishing I had a son, all of that changed the moment I first held you in my arms. You became my treasure instantly, and I want you to know that, despite our troubles, you have always been the apple in my eye. Everything I did, no matter how heartless or inexplicable or unjustifiable, it was for you. I think I perhaps was testing the limits of love a daughter can have for her father, and you, Miha, never faltered, never failed. I never felt anything less than love for you or from you. I hope you believe that. One last thing, I'm leaving you my rum business, the crown jewel of my empire. I don't think I was ever happier when we were in the middle of our rum war. Do you remember? Those were good times, weren't they? I always wanted to be a good father to you, Veronica. I love you so much. Adios." I was tear-eyed during that scene, and that was the first time I was tear-eyed since Fred Andrews' funeral, which was the only time I've been tear-eyed in this series. So yeah, Camila Mendes did a great job at her reactions, especially when she laughed after the rum war, when he was talking about the rum war. But great moments in this whole episode. Again, things that feel a little bit disjointed. We have superpowers going on, we have hearing loss, we have possessing souls, but Veronica's story really sold this episode. I think her character has finally come to a point where, she's likable. And of course, she still was involved in killing her father, but that's what makes her character more interesting. And her and Reggie have great chemistry too. So that's kind of all I have to say about the episode. But yeah, sorry for the long review, but it was really well done, I gotta say. A lot of good moments in the episode. So I want to thank everyone for watching my studio. What do you think of this episode? Can't wait for next week, and bye everyone.